The Rapture. Yeah. Okay, this is a very famous Christian evangelical or fundamentalist concept that was popularized by Hal Lindsey with his books in the 70s and in the 80s. I know this because I read most of them, and also from the Left Behind series by Jerry Jenkins and Tim LaHale, if I'm correct. Yeah, these were very popular and still are in many Christian groups. It's a very popular idea. What's the idea? That everybody who believed in Jesus between the day of Pentecost and the unknown hour, day or hour will be raised and resurrected from the dead with a trumpet blast and the trump of God, a la 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. Those Christians that are alive at that very moment in the twinkling of an eye will be changed, translated into their immortal bodies without experiencing physical death, caught up, taken up into heaven to meet those that are gone before us in the air. It's a very popular concept. It's a very comforting, even concept. I mean, I even believed it for years when I was in high school and in college. The idea that maybe I won't know what it's like to die physically was comforting, and I was hoping it would happen. That way I wouldn't know what it's like to grow old or die from disease or whatever. Unfortunately, it's wrong. Dead wrong. The Rapture was created by a man named John Nelson Darby, who lived in the early 1800s. He was a Scottish minister, and he came to the United States, and he came up with this belief called dispensationalism, where God had divided all of time into certain dispensations or periods of time, a period of law, a period of grace, a period of law again, and all that kind of stuff. And and what eventually happened is that from this belief, it got popularized here in the United States. I mean, it went worldwide, but it actually found its mark and foundation here. It spread like wildfire throughout the 1800s. Now, the 1800s was still a time of crazy things going on. We had a civil war, right? And there was a lot of pushing out west and conflicts with other countries that were owning those parts of the country at the time. And because of all of these things, this belief flourished. It ended up being so to the point that people wanted something to believe in, something so heavily. Now, mind you, none of these people were Catholic. These were from a Protestant persuasion. What's weird about that is that until then, nobody, even from the Protestant persuasion, believed in this scenario. That this secret snatching up of believers, where the world would all of a sudden be filled with nothing but unbelievers to undergo the judgments of God that's described in the book of Revelation and in Daniel and in other apocalyptic writings. We as a species are very naturally inclined to want to know what's going to happen, what God's plan is for the human species. Well, we already know what that is going to be. I mean, it is revealed in Scripture and in tradition that God will come back, that Jesus will come a second time and will set everything right. It's all described in the later parts of the book of Revelation. Jesus talks about it in the Gospels. But the method, the way that it's supposed to happen, gives rise to, or gave rise and continues to give rise to a lot of sad situations where people have made up belief systems where they started predicting when this rapture would happen. One of the earlier ones in the 1800s, after the rapture was created, was the man named William Miller. And this was known as the Great Disappointment, where he had a whole bunch of people believe that the rapture was going to happen October 22nd, 1844. He predicted the rapture would happen, and many people believed him. He created a cult, a following, and people sold all their belongings, sold all their businesses, thinking that there was no need for them anymore. So when that date came and went, you could understand that a lot of people's lives were absolutely destroyed and devastated from it. He tried to make it up by even coming up with a later date that he just miscalculated. But then when that didn't come, he fell into destitution and the movement broke apart into several groups. One of them, funny enough, is the Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't want to get into it to this point, but they've made their predictions on when Jesus would supposedly come. There were different dates: 1918, 1914, 1973. I think they stopped. Harold Camping. Oh, God bless Harold Camping. I used to listen to some of his radio shows back in college. He was another guy who was very famous on the radio and on television, and he predicted that Jesus would come back on May 11th, 2011. Needless to say, there was a lot of people in Times Square, and there was a lot of people with trucks and signs saying it was about to happen, and it didn't happen. Hal Lindsey, God bless him, man. I read many of his books, and it was through his books that I actually bought into this idea for years that this rapture was actually biblical and that it was really going to happen in my lifetime based on world events. All the things that are happening in the Middle East, the things when I was in college, the whole thing with the Soviet Union, things were going on. Hal Lindsey actually passed away a few years ago. I didn't even know it. I just found this out myself. He was in his mid 90s. I'm like, God rest Hal Lindsey's soul. I can't help but wonder if he was hoping he'd be one of those people that would not experience physical death. Even now, as of this recording, there is a pastor in South Africa that is saying that Jesus appeared to him in a vision and told him that the rapture is going to happen on either Tuesday, September 22nd, or Wednesday, September 23rd. Okay? And he's saying this now, and people are believing it. People want this to happen. I get why, but the problem is that it won't happen. Not like that. Not like that. Jesus himself said in the scriptures that no one knows the day or the hour, neither the angels in heaven nor the Son. Only the Father knows the time of his coming. Let me explain a couple of dangers with this. One, it gives a sense of fatalism and a sense of getting kind of lazy in our faith. We are called as Christians to be the salt of the earth, to be the light to the world. That is not just by proclaiming the gospel, but by living the gospel, proclaiming Jesus Christ as Lord, risen, not just in what we say, but in what we do. Our works of charity, our works of love, our works of support for people that are marginalized or not treated like they should be treated with the dignity that they deserve because they are human beings created in the image and likeness of God. The rapture kind of makes people, and I've heard people who believe in this say this: oh, I can't wait to be out of here. The rapture is going to come and I'm out of this place. And that's all they think about, that's all they dream about, that's all they talk about. There are more deeper theological issues with this doctrine that I really don't have enough room and time here to go over. But one of the biggest ones has to do with the whole dispensational argument of the rapture that it's based on, about how, it's actually in relation to God's plan for the church versus God's plan for Israel. A topic for another video. It kind of like puts us as, if I have to say it real quick in a nutshell, that we as a church were God's plan B when Israel was always plan A from the beginning. That is not the belief of what the church taught for 2,000 years, and that is still not the belief that the church officially teaches after 2,000 years. Again, this is a belief system that's about close to 200 years old at this point. And how are you supposed to believe in something that's only 200 years old and put that up against the actual belief of the second coming that's 2,000 years old, that goes all the way back to the time of Jesus and the apostles and the early church fathers of that? Now, were there end of the world cults even in the early church? Of course there were, but they fizzled out real quick. And again, even the people in Thessalonia that Paul talked about, they were concerned that their loved ones who had gone before them were going to miss out on the day of the Lord. And Paul had to talk to them in his second letter to the Thessalonians to let them know that don't worry, they're gonna be comforted. You're gonna see them again. He said it in First Thessalonians chapter 4, and then he goes on in the second letter. The people who believe in the rapture hold on to 1 Thessalonians 4 as their main reading that talks about what they think is the rapture. I'm going to make more videos about this because there's just not enough time here to explain. I think my point here is that these people, from time to time, every several years, pop up and make a proclamation that the rapture is coming, that the second coming is coming, that Jesus is coming. We need to get ready. It's happening on this date. Happening on that date. It's happening on that date. And then when those dates do not happen, the people that actually believed and took their word as gospel truth are ended up being disappointed, frustrated. Some of them even walk away from the Christian faith in general. And that's a dangerous thing. And because it continues to be a dangerous thing, it's no wonder that the enemy must be smiling and enjoying this. We are living in the end times. I believe that. And here's what the church officially teaches about it, that the end times began on the day of Pentecost. Peter began it, and Peter in his sermon talks about it in this reading. Peter talks about it in Acts chapter 2 in his first sermon to the church as soon as it was born. And starting in verse 17, it says, "It will come to pass in the last days, God says, that I will pour out a portion of my spirit upon all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your young men shall see visions. Your old men shall dream dreams. Indeed, upon my servants and my handmaids, I will pour out a portion of my spirit in those days, and they will prophesy, and I will work wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood, fire, and a cloud of smoke. The sun shall be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the coming of the great and splendid day of the Lord. And it shall be that everyone shall be saved who calls on the name of the Lord." That's when the end times started, and it continues to this day. God is not rushing this. He wants as many people to be saved before he comes back, because after he comes back, there's no second chance. That is it. It is done. It's a wrap. The rapture is a false, man-made doctrine that sadly certain Christian communities subscribe to. But if they were to look at the history of it and to look to see that it's less than 200 years old, that it was created by this guy, John Nelson Darby, and he created this system that brought a lot of people in and created these incredible, ideas and cults and beliefs and disappointments again and again and again. It just doesn't, and it keeps on going. And guess what? Next week, on the 22nd and 23rd of September, with this guy from Africa, it's going to be another disappointment again. It's going to happen. Whether the guy is lying or whether he sincerely believes that's what's going to happen. If he sincerely believes that he got a vision from Jesus saying this is when it's going to happen, regardless whether or not he believes it or not, the truth is it's not going to happen. My heart goes out to people like this because I used to be one of them. I used to believe in this, but I believe what the church teaches, that the church will be here. All believers on earth will be here when the final trial happens. And the church does believe that there will be a deception in the form of the Antichrist that will persecute the church. How that form happens is many still put it under dispute, and it's definitely going to be another topic for another time. But I just want to challenge you guys on this one thing, because I think this is the most important part I want to take away with this video. And that is, if Jesus were to come today, right now, what would he like to see us be doing? Is he waiting for us to be wearing white robes the way the Millerites did in the 1840s? Waiting, just sitting there, waiting? Or is he hoping, or is he wanting for us to be going about his work, being the salt of the earth, being the light of the world, doing his will? Remember, his kingdom comes and his will be done here on earth as it is in heaven. How is it done here on earth? Well, we're the doers. We are the ones that express that love of God through what we do and what we say and how we treat each other. As a matter of fact, there is a particular time when we're going to meet God that is definitely guaranteed, whether the second coming happens in this century or not, and that is the day we die. Instead of being worried about being raptured or not, I think we should all be concerned about that day. What would you want to hear God say to you on that day? When you go to meet him, when we go to meet him, I'm going to do it, you're going to do it, we're all going to do it. These are the things that we have to think about and pray about. God is slowly working us in to become citizens of heaven because we were made for that. God created us to be with him, to be there for him. That's what love does. Love is not snatching believers away from the earth and then there are planes crashing because the pilots are gone, cars crashing because the drivers are gone, babies gone from their strollers because they were so innocent they were just taken. This is what rapture believers actually think will happen on that day. And some rapture believers believe that it's going to happen next week. I remember when I still believed in it. It was October of 1992. There was a Korean group that believed the rapture was going to happen on October 28th, 1992. And for a good couple of years before that, they were putting signs and billboards and newspaper articles everywhere, all over the city, all over the world, really, proclaiming this, that this was going to happen on October 28th, 1992. And I ended up almost believing it. I actually believed that. I remember being home the day of. It was that morning, and I was just waiting. I was waiting. I was waiting, and nothing happened. And I'll be real, a part of me kind of was relieved that it did. And I think a part of that had to do with the idea that I didn't know if I was really saved or not, and I was worried that I would be left behind. There were movies made for this even long before the ones with Kirk Cameron. In the 70s, there was a movie called A Thief in the Night. That's a horror movie. I love horror movies. That was a horror movie. I would check it out. It's here on YouTube. Just look it up. I'll put the link. Is that the kind of God that we want to love and believe in? No. Our God will come at a day or hour we will not expect. And when that day comes, it is my prayer and my prayer for you all that we're all doing his will, because that's what matters. When you love someone, you want to do things for that person you love. And God is someone, the ultimate someone that we're all called to love. And we do that by loving our neighbor, by loving ourselves, and proclaiming his word, his gospel, whether it's through scripture, whether it's through the church, because I'm Catholic and I ain't going anywhere. What are your thoughts on the rapture? Comment below. Do you believe in it? Let's talk more about it. I'll be more than glad to put more videos of that topic and really dig in deeper. This is kind of like a surface level introductory thing to it that I just wanted to talk about. Until next time, take care. God bless you.